So if you would, take a moment, check your cell phones, electronic devices, make sure they're off and put away, please.
Judge, may we approach?
Yes.
Where would you like Ms. Torres?
Wherever she wants to be. Good morning, Ms. Torres.
Good morning, Judge.
Judge, if when the court is ready to proceed, it would be our intention to call Genevieve Torres to the witness stand. Ms. Torres is an attorney in Hillsborough that Mr. Jonchuck consulted with regarding a family law matter. We have previously turned over her file to the state attorney office as part of our discovery obligations, and we believe that that was a waiver of his attorney-client privilege. In order to make that understanding as clear as possible, Mr. Jonchuck is prepared to advise the court in Ms. Torres' presence that he is waiving any attorney-client privilege.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Torres, if you would take the witness stand, please. Thank you. You can get sworn in now, so it'll be over with.
All right, would you stand? The clerk, raise your right hand for particular.
You do solemnly swear and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
And now, ma'am. Have a seat in your chair, speaking loud. loud and clear voice for the court. Let's make sure you work close to the mic.
Mr. Jonchuck, could you state your name for the record, please?
John Jonchuck.
And were you present when I announced to the court and to Ms. Torres that you were waiving any attorney-client privilege?
Yes.
Is that the way you feel?
Yes.
Do you waive attorney-client privilege at this time?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dunn. Might as well just bring the jury in.
Judge, I think she should take the oath of the jury, just so they
If you
see
want
as
to.
any other witness. I mean, and not that I think
Well,
she wouldn't take
hold on,
the
she's
oath of the
actually a member
jury.
of Florida Bar, so she doesn't need to be sworn in.
Right, but as far as the appearance from the jurors, they see one witness that doesn't take the oath, we're just,
Well, I'll tell them. How's that?
That's fine.
All right, let's bring them in, please.
Deputy Rice, you want to bring him in?
Oh, absolutely.
Let me get that for you. You try to pour him in, next thing you know, you got a gallon of water. Take out a single sheet. As I was putting notepads back on the chairs, I had a single sheet that was loose. Somebody needed notepads.
We have a whole new box of pens. Well, the pen could run dry at any moment. And we have 16 new hats, so if you need something, just ask Deputy Johnson to give it to you.
Notepad.
If you get a new notepad, would you do me a favor and put the number that's on your first notepad on the second notepad, just in case they get mixed up? Thank you.
Jury is seated. Ready to go, Your Honor.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Anybody had any information outside of court on this case? No. Okay, our first witness of the day is Ms. Torres. She doesn't need to be sworn. She's a member of the Florida Bar. And if you're a member of the Florida Bar, you take an oath that you're going to tell the truth in court. Okay? You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Good morning.
good morning.
Good morning. Can you tell us your name, please?
It's Genevieve Torres, but most people say Genevieve here. So Genevieve is good.
All right, tell me again and I'll try to get it right.
Genevieve. I'm French Canadian.
Okay. So we changed the accents to later in the
And yeah,
Okay. What's your occupation?
I'm an attorney.
And what kind of law do you practice?
I do family law.
Do you have your law firm have a name?
Yes, my law firm is Family First Law Group.
And where is that, what county is that?
I'm located in Lutz, which is Hillsborough County, close to Pasco.
Do you know Mr. Jonchuck?
I do.
Well, when was the first time you saw Mr. Jonchuck?
I saw Mr. Jonchuck for the first time on August 22nd, 2014.
And was that in your professional capacity?
Yes, he came in for consultation.
All right. And I know you practice family law. Was it you came in with a family law issue?
He did. He came in with what we call here paternity issue, meaning that he had a child that was born out of wedlock, and he needed to establish his parental right over his daughter, Phoebe.
Okay. And that was, you said, in August 22nd of 2014?
Yes.
Okay. He actually came into your office?
I think it's 22nd, 20-something. I'm pretty sure it was August 20-something, 2000.
Okay. So we know we got the month and we know we got
Yes,
the year.
August, yes.
That's
One
fine.
at a time, please. Okay, yeah, no, go.
Sorry. Yes. For sure, August 2014. I believe it was the 22nd.
And he, as we said, he came into your office?
Yes, he came into my office. He was with another gentleman,
Okay.
and he came in for consultation.
Anything unusual about that consultation?
No, everything was normal. He asked the right question, like the question that I hear in almost all consultation about how to go about to establish his rights, what the process is going to be like. He told me a little bit of history as to, history that he had with the mother, Michelle, and then he asked about my fees. And it was not a very, very long consultation. It was about half an hour.
Okay. After he left, is there a process that you go through as far as communication with the client?
I do. Most of the time I'll send a follow-up email. Thank you for coming in. He wanted me to, believe email in the retainer agreement.
Say that again? Yeah, say that again.
Sorry, I think I emailed them a retainer agreement, or I stated the term of the retainer in the email. So I kind of just said, something along the line as,
Ms. Torres, could you slow it up a little bit?
I will.
Just for the court report.
okay.
Thank you.
Around the line that says, thank you for coming in, here's my fees, if you want to move forward, it was a pleasure meeting you, I'm looking forward to help you, let me know when you're ready, something along those lines.
And that email would have been sent to him in August of
Yeah.
2014?
Either the day of or the day after. It's really, I usually meet with the client and I send that follow-up email almost immediately.
Amanda, do you need her to speak even slower?
Yeah, and
Okay.
don't interrupt him. Let him get his full question out before you answer, okay? Thank you.
And for the people that are farther back, they're asking that you move forward a little bit so you're closer to that microphone.
Okay.
It's not easy, is it?
No. I'm used to being on the other side.
Huh?
It's different to be on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
When you sent that email, did Mr. Jonchuck reply immediately?
He replied timely, within, a day or two. And
And that was in August. Then when he replied timely, then when's the next time you had contact with him?
I didn't hear from him until December 31st of 2014.
And do you remember how that contact came about?
Yes.
Telephone? I'm sorry.
I believe he initially called my office, but it's December 31st. I was after hours. We were closed that day. So I do have an answering service. So I do get text message when somebody called my office and it's closed, then I'll get a message that says, this person called, name, phone number, and the reason why they called. So that came through my phone. I didn't call them back right away. He emailed me at the same time. I think he probably just called my office and then emailed me. So I saw his email come through, and I responded to that email on December 31st, 2014.
And in that response, did you give him any indication where you were?
Yes, I said I was on vacation to visit my family. I don't remember if the email I said was in Montreal, but I said that I'm visiting my family. I will be back after the new year, and I gave him an appointment time because he was eager to move forward fast. He wanted to move forward that day with the proceeding, and I said, well, I'll be back January 6th. I could meet you at 10 o'clock. And then I asked him if that was okay with him.
All right, and I know this question's coming out of left field, but I got to ask you that when you sent him the email saying you were out of town, you did not tell him that you were vacationing in Babylon, did you?
No, I did not.
Your email then set up or suggested an appointment time or a process for him to come see you again?
Yes.
Right. And when is the next time then that he came and saw you or that you communicated with him?
He actually emailed me a couple times after that, just information. Information about the reason why he wanted to move forward. He talked about the mother's boyfriend, Guy Kisser, in the email.
The mother's boyfriend.
Guy Kisser. His name is Guy Kisser. So he mentioned his concern about him in an email to me. So he sent a couple emails like that, wanting me to have information, I believe, to just help me write the paperwork for him. Because I did tell him, and I told him that I would get the template ready. Like, I would be ready for his appointment. I would try to get as much as possible ready ahead of time, and when he comes in, we'll just, finish the petition together.
Okay. And part of so there was a two-step process, or at least a two-step process. He still had a retainer that he had to provide, and he still had information and paperwork that needed to be complete.
Yes, the retainer agreement wasn't signed at that point.
Okay.
So he understood what he had to provide for the down payment, and then for the filing fee.
Oh, gosh. My Korean shield's coughing. I'm great. No problem. Okay. On the bottom of the road. May continue?
Okay. And this information that we're discussing now was back and forth through emails?
Yes, he did have a conversation, I believe, with my paralegal
Okay.
to give him some of that information, like how much he need to bring to the appointment. Like some of it was communicated through my paralegal, not through all email.
When's the first time on the 6th? What's the first thing he does? Does he call you or come by the office?
No, he comes by because I told him I could meet you on January 6th at 10, and he responded back and said that was great. So he would be there.
Was he there at 10?
He was there at 10.
Had he come by earlier, even before 10?
I couldn't tell you if he was there before 10 that day. He was there for his appointment, and he was there by himself.
Okay. When he came in on the 6th, you again had a consultation or continued your consultation with him regarding the family law issue?
When he came in on the 6th, I was getting the paperwork ready for him with him.
Okay. Did he seem, I don't know, normal?
He did. No red flag whatsoever. He acted normal, very cooperative. Any information I asked him, he had an answer for. We actually worked on the petition together.
Okay. And if you asked a question, he gave you the appropriate response?
Yes, every single time. He knew all the answer.
Okay. So that, I guess we would consider that a successful meeting?
Yes, no, it was fine. It was normal, it was successful. I didn't have a lot of additional information needed from him. A lot of time people will need to go back home to look some addresses or information that, they don't remember where they lived last 5 years, which is something that's required to tell, there's a paperwork that needs to be filed with a petition for establishing paternity that says where's the child resided over the last 5 years. A lot of people don't, they remember 1 or 2 addresses, and they have to go back home to look for the rest of the stuff. He knew all of them. I mean, he stayed in multiple places, and I can't remember how many, but it was more than 5. And he knew the dates he was there, the address, the zip code, who was there. He knew every single. I remember thinking I was impressed. Like, he knows where he lived, and he knew all this. I mean, I was impressed he knew the zip code of 5 or 6 different addresses that he's lived at. Most people don't remember that.
And that, after that meeting on the 6th, any more communication or, any contact with him?
Not on the 6th,
Okay. When's the next time you saw him?
the 7th, the next day.
All right. And did he have an appointment for the 7th?
No, he was supposed to drop by the filing fee whenever he had a chance to.
Okay. So the 7th, there was no appointment. There was just an understanding that there'll be in order the paperwork that you're talking about, these are legal papers that need to be filed in a court.
Yes,
And obviously, that's not free, so you have, what's it called?
a filing fee.
And is that that's what you needed in order
Yes.
to get that paperwork started, or finished, I guess?
Yes, that's what I needed from him. So everything was drafted, everything was ready to go. I just needed him to bring back the filing fee so I could file it with the court.
Okay. And that didn't require an appointment, that was just come in, provide the funds, I'll start the process.
Yes, he could just leave it with my paralegal. That's usually what people do.
Is that how it happened?
No.
Okay. What happened?
I got in, I want to say around 9:30. The phone was ringing when I got, I undid the answering service. I was the first one in. So I undid the answering service, and the phone started ringing right away. And it was him on the phone. And he said to
Let me
me,
stop it for a second. When you say him, you mean Mr. Johnson?
it was Mr. Jonchuck on the
Yeah.
phone. He said to me he already had came by the office earlier. I think he said around 9 to drop off the fee that I needed. And he wanted to talk to me and meet with me too. So I wasn't scheduled with him that day. I did have things that I had to get done, but I told him, well, if you want to come now, I have a little bit of time. I could see you and meet with you now. So he said, I'm on my way. I'm coming now. And he came within a half an hour. He wasn't that far away from my office. So by 10, he was there.
Okay. Was he alone?
Get Phoebe with him.
How was he dressed?
He was wearing pajama pants and a hoodie.
How often in your career have people worn pajama pants to your consultations?
That was the first.
Your office, there's 2 separate levels, I understand?
Yes, the office I used to be in when Mr. Jonchuck, I moved since. So the office I used to be in had upstairs and a downstairs and an upstairs. And the upstairs was a loft.
Okay. And is that where you would conduct the consultations?
My office was a loft. So I had a loft where I had my desk and I had a little area with a table and 3 chairs that usually would meet with a client there. And I had another desk. It was kind of spacious.
Mr. Jonchuck obviously came in the office. You'd be able to see what he was wearing, and
Yes.
then where did the rest of the consultation take, or where did the rest of the meeting take place?
Upstairs.
Where did Phoebe go?
She initially came upstairs with him.
So Mr. Jonchuck comes in. He's wearing pajama pants. He's got Phoebe. Does he have anything else with him?
He has a backpack.
And does he bring that upstairs with him?
Yes.
Is his, forgetting the pajamas for a moment, his demeanor, his talking, is it the same as it was from the day before?
Initially, yes. When he first came up, He was just the same that he was yesterday, kind of eager to move forward with the process. You know, just excited, like just excitable, jump. Like he was just eager to move forward, like, and he was talking fast, and you know.
Faster than you?
I don't know. So I'm so sorry.
Did the conversation take a turn?
Yes, but the way it happened is he came up with Phoebe, and then that little gathering area I had with a 3 chair and a little table, coffee table in the middle, he put his backpack on it. It was heavy. It looked like it was heavy. Like he just put the backpack, but it looked like it was, it made a sound when it hit the table. And then Phoebe was just wandering around the loft. She was kind of exploring or looking around. She wasn't very far, but she was just looking around. And then he unzipped his backpack and then took this big brown, as far as I knew, I didn't know what it was at first, so it was a book, but he told me it was a Bible. So he put it on my little black table and actually was crumbling. After he left, I still had pieces of the Bible. It was falling apart a little bit. So he put it on the table, and he explained to me that it was a Bible that was been in his family for quite some time, and through his stepmother, and that he was fascinated with it at that point. And the first thing that he said that kind of got me a little, made me feel uncomfortable. Let's say I started there. I started feeling uncomfortable when he told me that when Phoebe touches the Bible, when Phoebe puts her hand on the Bible, that she starts chanting, like singing, like you use the word chant. She starts chanting, and he was telling me about that, like how at night or at home, like she'll touch the Bible and she'll start chanting. And I had a feeling that he was going to go with, let me show you. Like, I felt he was going to go there. Like, he was going to ask Phoebe to touch the Bible. He didn't. But the conversation was, like, heading towards, like, I felt this is what he was going to do. So I kind of put a stop to the conversation. And I asked if it was okay if Phoebe would go back downstairs with my paralegal. And then I had crayons and papers, coloring book, and she could just draw, while we talk. Because it made me feel uncomfortable.
Let me ask a little bit more about this Bible. You said it was heavy. Did it appear as old as he was saying it was?
It was falling apart. It looked old.
And tell me a little bit more, when you say that she would chant or sing, was that like as in, like the Italian or the Latin church service where they're chanting or speaking in tongues?
Sorry.
That's okay.
You finished?
Yes.
He made a connection or parallel to the people that was speaking tongue. And he compared it to that. And
then I assume getting Phoebe downstairs was a way to keep that conversation from going any farther?
Yes.
Okay.
So I asked him if it was okay if she was going to go downstairs, and my paralegal was super nice, sweet, really good with kids. I think she'll be better there, and we could talk more freely. And he hesitated for a second, and he said, that's fine. So I opened the door, I called my paralegal up, and I asked her, can you please take Phoebe downstairs, and she'll do pictures with you. And then she was okay with that too. So she followed, her name is Kirsten, my paralegal. So she followed Kirsten.
I couldn't hear you.
Oh, her name, my paralegal's name was Kirsten at that time. So she followed Kirsten downstairs. And then, as far as I'm concerned, they start drawing pictures.
And what did Mr. Jonchuck talk about then?
Well, then I closed the door, and then I started talking about the paperwork, I start talking about, you ready to move forward? And at that point, he was not really interested into talking about the paternity case, the paperwork. He wasn't interested in that. He said, that's going to sound weird or strange. He said weird or strange. I'm not one of those words. He said, that sounds weird, but I really think that, I think you're saying Genevieve. And it caught me off guard clearly. So I kind of said, I was like, no, I'm definitely not. He's like, no, you're saying Genevieve. I know you are. You just came back from the city of Babylon, which was Montreal. To him was Babylon. So I said, I insisted that I wasn't. And then he said from there, well, then if you're not saying Genevieve, then you must be God. And that then the conversation, and he was serious. Like, he wasn't joking around at that point. Like, his tone changed. And then he was serious. He was like, you God, you're a creator. And I said, no, and I'm definitely not God. And I'm starting to be a little, not at that point I knew something was not right. And it's starting to make me feel really nervous. And I started thinking, okay, where do I go from here? How do I get him back on track to just talk about the papers and then get him out of here, right? Then he insisted that I read the Bible to him. And I said, I can't. You said earlier that it was in Swedish. I don't speak Swedish. I can't read his Bible. I'm not going to, John. And then he said, you are the creator. You speak all languages. You know how to speak Swedish. And it wasn't joking. Like, I was starting getting like very, very nervous. And then I kept saying, no, I'm sorry.
Take your time.
Do you want to take a break?
I think I'll be fine. Give me a second. Okay. He insisted that I read the Bible to him in Swedish, and I said I wouldn't do it for him. And I couldn't anyway, because I didn't speak the language. He kept insisting and insisting and insisting. And every time that I said no, I could tell that he was getting more agitated and more upset. And it was almost like it didn't make sense to him that I didn't. Like, whatever theory he had in his mind, whatever he was thinking, all of a sudden I was like kind of telling him that, like, it couldn't be. So he was getting frustrated with the idea that I wasn't what he said I was. So I went back and forth like that for a while, and I keep trying to get him back to the paperwork. At one point, when he got, tired of me saying that I was not going to read the Bible and I was not God, then he said, then I must be God.
Let me ask you this. We talked a little bit about also the angels coming down when I talked to you earlier, which...
Judge.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I think I stopped you when you had said that, I guess maybe you had convinced him that you weren't God, or he somehow...
When he got frustrated when he got frustrated enough that I keep telling him that I wasn't going to read the Bible to him in Swedish, and I said it over and over. I'm not going to read it to you, John. I don't speak Swedish. Eventually, he just said, then I'm God. I must be God. And then that scared me a lot, because I'm thinking I'm upstairs by myself, the door's closed, I'm in the loft. Now he's getting frustrated, not aggressive, but he didn't do anything where he threw things around, but he was getting upset, angry. And now he thinks he's God, and I'm by myself with him, you know. And so one thing that he did say when he was insisting that I read the Bible to him is that I need you to read this to me because I need to reinstate my faith in mankind. In mankind. I need you to read this to me because I need to reinstate my faith in mankind. And that was towards the end when he was getting more and more frustrated. He did talk about an angel was coming. An angel named Michael was coming down sometime soon.
Let me ask you about that. When did he start talking about that?
When I started refusing, after I started refusing, when I refused over and over to read to him, and then he started thinking, well, you know, then if you're not God, then I must be God. And then he said, you know, there's an angel coming soon. An angel is going to come down soon. He didn't elaborate too much about it. He just said an angel was coming down soon, an angel named Michael. And I just didn't acknowledge it. I just moved forward with trying to talk about something else. And that's at that point that I looked up at a clock right on the wall, behind him on the wall, and it was 10:40. And sometime in that conversation back and forth, he told me that him and Phoebe were gonna go get baptized. He had made an appointment at St. Paul Catholic Church on Del Mabry for him and Phoebe to get baptized at 11 o'clock that morning. It was 10:40 when I looked at the clock. So as soon as I saw that, I said, that was my way out. That was my, that's the way I'm going to get him out of here. So I said, John, it's 10:40. You told me you had an appointment at 11. I think you need to get going. And you're going to miss your appointment if you don't go. You need to go now because I'm about 15 minutes away from the church. So if you leave now, you still can make your appointment. So you don't want to miss that. So I convinced him to wrap up and then get his, things back and leave. So he said, yes, you're right. I need to go there. And then he was trying to pack up his Bible back in his backpack, I helped him. I helped him zip the backpack. I don't want him out. So I helped him zip the backpack and to shuffle the thing, he said, can you drive me there? And I said, no, John, I can't drive you there. I got appointments. I can't drive you there. And then, is there a reason why you want me to drive you there? Did you drink alcohol? Did you take drugs? Is there any reason why you can't drive? You drove here. And he said, no, there's no reason I can't drive. I said, okay. And I said, can I leave Phoebe here? And I said, she's going to get baptized with you, isn't she? He's like, yeah. It's like, well, she can't be baptized with you if she's going to leave her here. You have, you got to take her. And I'm thinking, like, you can't leave your child. It didn't to me, it didn't make sense. Like, I was trying to get him out, but I'm thinking in my head, I'm going to call 911 as soon as he's out. So, I'll have the police on the way to catch up with him. And he said, you're right. I got to take Phoebe to get baptized. And so then I'm sitting down still, I sat back down in my chair, and I had the paperwork that I had prepared still that we barely talked about. And I said, what do you want me to do with the paperwork? I still need the filing fee from you. What do I do? And he was standing up. At that point, I was sitting down. So it was kind of like he was looking down at me, and he got serious again. Like he kind of got this serious look on his face, and he kind of looked down. He said, none of this is going to matter tomorrow. And it caught me off guard again.
That look he had on his face when he said that, is that the same look as he had when he was telling you that you were God?
Yeah, when he was serious. Like he he was at time when I was, telling him, you need to leave. Like he was back to okay, like being just being excited to move forward. He's just back to being, I don't say normal, but I mean just being him. I just feel that he wasn't angry John. I guess I'll put it that way. Like I feel like he was like just when he was packing up, he was like, oh yeah, I need to go. And then all of a sudden I talk about paperwork and he looked at me and he's like, none is going to matter tomorrow. With this very serious look, like the same angry look almost that when he was saying he was God or I was God or, he was getting frustrated. And I said, John, it's going to matter tomorrow. And he's like, no, nothing's going to matter tomorrow. And then he stormed out from there. I mean, it was like he almost ran down the stairs. And when he said that, then I was thinking in my head, oh my God, what is he going to do? Like, not that he was going to hurt Phoebe at that point, just that what if he runs with her? Like, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, what if he just leaves, like, the country or something with her when we can't find him again? So I start panicking at that point, thinking, I need to call 911 as soon as he leaves. But, like, that was my fear at that point. I was fearful that he was going to do something where we can't find him or Phoebe anymore. That he was not going to go to the church at 11 o'clock. So he ran down the stairs. I ran after him. Phoebe was sitting on one of those chairs that I had in the waiting area. She was sitting down with a sheet of paper, crayons. She was drawing, like I expected her to be doing. And he told her, let's go, we gotta go. And Phoebe kind of froze for a second. She kind of sat there and then, almost looking like, well, I'm not finished my picture. Like almost like had that look on her face, like, well, I'm not done. Like, what do you mean we have to go? She didn't say anything, but that's the look she had. And then she wasn't moving. She kind of just sat there and froze. And then because she wasn't moving, then he went towards her, grabbed the crayon and the paper that she was holding, threw everything in that little basket that I had with the kid stuff. So he threw everything in there. And then he grabbed her by the arm, yanked her out of the chair, and then just walked out. And then the door closed. I had a moment where I was like, oh my God. And I told my assistant, call 911, I'm going to grab it, phone upstairs. And then she did.
Let me go back for a second. I wanted to ask you about, he asked you to drive him to the church?
He did.
Okay. Did he ever ask you to go to the church with him?
No, he's asking me to drive him there.
Okay. And then it was after that he asked if Phoebe could stay.
Yes.
Okay. Judge, if I could have a moment.
Mm-hmm.
have a couple more questions.
That's okay.
Judge, if I approach the clerk. Sorry.
That's okay.
Want some cough drops?
No, I swallowed something wrong.
I'm going to ask you to look at a piece of evidence. It's defense exhibit number 3. Let me approach Judge. This is obviously you can tell it's a call log.
Yes.
It is a what?
Call log.
Yes.
Do you see your office number on there?
Yes.
And can you tell the jury, you don't have to go through every one, but are there, on January 7th in the morning, is your office being called by Mr. Jonchuck?
Yes.
Let's stay with the judge. Counsel.
Ms. Torres, what is your office's telephone number?
I have 3 lines, but the main number is 813-443-2132.
Thank you. Did Mr. Jonchuck ever give give you the filing fee or the retainer that day on the 7th?
No.
When he left your office that morning, did you think that he was drunk or on drugs?
I didn't think he was. Yeah.
When he left the office, you called 911?
Immediately, within 30 seconds.
And were you in fear for Phoebe's life, or were you concerned by the way he was acting?
In the morning, at that time, I was concerned about the way he was acting. I did not believe he was going to be hurtful to Phoebe at that time.
You were afraid he might take off with her or something?
I was afraid that he was not going to go to St. Paul, like he said he was, and he was going to take off and won't find him or her again. That's the last statement he told me is, none of it is going to matter tomorrow, and then he stormed out of my office. So this is what I was thinking. This is why I was panicking and being nervous about him not going to St. Paul. When he got to St. Paul and the officer called me and said he's here, then I felt like everything was okay. Like I felt, thank God, he's there. Everything's fine. They're going to Baker Act him.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Cross.
Morning, Ms. Torres.
Good morning.
So when John came into your office on August 22nd, you did not observe any mental health issues with him at all, correct?
Correct.
There were no red flags.
No.
You had a normal conversation with him, right?
Correct.
Just like we're having now.
Yes.
He paid his $100 consultation fee.
He did.
And he was interested in getting paternity for Phoebe, right?
Correct. He wanted to establish his parental rights.
Okay. And what did he tell you in regards to wanting to establish those rights?
He told me that he had Phoebe for a couple of years now, but he didn't have anything, he didn't have any court order or anything really justifying him having Phoebe.
Okay.
He was aware of that. He was aware of the fact that he had her, and then if mom was going to come back and demand for her, that he had to turn her over to mom because he didn't have a court order establishing him as a father.
Was he worried about that?
He was worried about that. That's the reason his consultation.
Okay. And it's fair to say he was extremely worried that that was a very real possibility, right?
Yes, correct. I informed him of that during the consultation, and it was his concern, but I confirmed it with him. If she comes and calls law enforcement, she's going to have to go back with mom. You do not have a court order.
Right. And so you told him that?
I told him that.
So at that point, he knows, because he's just met with a legal expert on the issue, that if mom, Michelle Kirk, comes and asks for Phoebe.
So what he knows, I think she testifies what she said to him.
Could we push on that, Judge?
Just proceed.
Okay. Can I rephrase the question?
Yes.
So you told him that if mom, Michelle Kerr, comes and asks for Phoebe, he has to give Phoebe back to mother.
Yes,
And did he seem to understand that when you explained it to him?
he did. He had a general understanding already that this would happen. He wanted to confirm that that was what would happen.
Okay. And was he even more concerned after you made that aware to him?
Yes, he was eager to move forward at that time too. I think money was the issue.
And you quoted him $2,500
Correct.
for your retainer, right?
Correct.
And you offered him a payment plan.
Yeah, I was trying to help him out. So I felt good enough with our consultation. I said, listen, I could help you out with a payment plan, but I need, X amount of money down and then the filing fee. And then we'll establish a payment plan and then we'll move forward.
And he said he would get the money and come back, right?
Yes.
And you didn't hear from him again until New Year's Eve when you were in Montreal, correct?
Well, he responded back to my email initially. When I emailed him and said, thank you for coming in, then he responded to that and said that, he was, we had a good consultation, that he was pleased with the way I was, passionate about what I did, and that he would gather the money and then come back as soon as he can.
Okay. That's what he said in the email.
That's what he did, generally. Yeah.
And no issues at all or concerns with him at that point based on that email, correct?
Not at all.
No?
Not at all, no.
But the next time you see him, or let me rephrase that, the next time you hear from him is December 31st, right?
Correct, 2014.
And that's when he calls your office?
He calls the office after hours, either after hours, but it was closed, so the 31st.
Okay.
The answering service was on.
And he was anxious to get this paternity case going on December 31st.
He wanted
right?
to do it now, yeah.
Okay, he wanted now. Is that unusual in your business for customers to come in and be anxious and eager about getting their paternity cases?
No, everybody thinks that their situation is an emergency. So it's not unusual that people want to move forward immediately and not always considerate of whether it's a night, weekend, holiday, because to them it's an emergency. You're dealing with their children, their family, their finances. So, they want to move as fast as possible. So it's not unusual, but it was 31st, towards the end of the day. Because I remember I was getting ready to go to a New Year's Eve party in my family. So it was towards, probably around dinner time or a little after that. So it was late in the day on the 31st. So most people don't expect that I'm going to start drafting paperwork at that time.
And it was kind of inconsiderate too, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, but he wasn't rude in his email, and he understood.
Now, he sent an email to you that afternoon in addition to the phone call, right?
He did. He called the answering service first, and then he emailed right away after that.
Okay, and in the email, he basically said he wanted to give you a call, and he's ready to retain you, and he would like to meet with you, right?
Yes.
Nothing in that email that was concerning or alarming to you?
No.
Okay. And then that's when you write back, and you set up the appointment for January 6th.
Yes, correct.
And when you met with him on January 6th, you said you met around 10 a.m., right?
Correct.
And what was his concern when you met with him on the 6th?
He just wanted to file as soon as possible.
Okay, and why?
He was afraid that Michelle was going to come back. Michelle, meaning Phoebe's mom, was going to come back and take Phoebe away from him. He had a dinner over the Christmas break. He mentioned that he met her and her fiance or boyfriend at the time at their house and had dinner. And then as a result of that, it didn't go well. He was afraid for Phoebe's safety. He didn't want Phoebe to go live with Michelle and her new boyfriend. He was very concerned about the boyfriend, the fiance. He said that he had a long rap sheet, a lot of violent, that's his word, a lot of violent crime. And I don't know that, I didn't look it up yet at that point. But he's saying he has a long criminal history, and that he saw weapons at the house, and that Guy Kisser told him things that made him really, really concerned about Phoebe's safety if she would live there. So he needed to move fast. He was hiding Phoebe at that point too. She wasn't going to school. She hadn't gone to school a couple of days, he said, 2 or 3 days, because he was afraid that Michelle would come to the school and take her, because he knew that she could. So he hadn't sent her to school in a couple of days.
And the name of Michelle's boyfriend was Guy Kisser.
Guy Kisser, yeah.
Right, and he didn't like Guy Kisser.
He did not, no.
Okay. And the mother, just for the record's sake, is Michelle Kerr.
Yes.
And he articulated that to you.
Yeah, he did.
And on January 6th, when you all were talking about this, he was completely coherent.
Completely coherent. His concern with Michelle Kerr was that she was unstable. That's what he was telling me. She's unstable. She hasn't been involved. I haven't asked for her in a while. She had, I guess, some issues and a history of either substance abuse issue of some sort. So that was his concern with her. And then he was concerned about Guy Kisser about different reason, about his criminal history.
And when he's speaking with you on the 6th, there were no red flags, right?
No.
No mental health concerns?
No, not at all. The one thing that sticks out in my mind all the time after that meeting is that I couldn't believe how much he knew about where he lived and the details. Nobody knows that usually. They don't go off. Nobody gives me 7 or 8 addresses or 5 or 6, however many it was, with exactly time period, months, years, zip code, address, who lived there. that sticked out in my mind. I was like, wow, you know, he really knows his things. And he had an answer for every question I had. He knew.
How did you gauge his intelligence level?
I mean, I didn't think he was, I mean, I would think he was, I won't say above average, I would say he was normal. I mean, there was nothing that, I just thought I was impressed with his ability to remember things.
And you did the template that you would have filed in the paternity case.
Yeah, so I had prepared, like before, a little bit before he came to the office, I had kind of just prepared the, you know, the normal petition, and then I was just going to fill in with him the reason why he wanted, you know, sole parental responsibility, or, you know, I needed those details, which I didn't know at the time. So that's what we met for. We met for so we could finish the petition the way he wanted it to be.
Okay, and he provided you all those details.
All the details.
Some of the many things we've already talked about, right?
Yes, and then we looked up Guy Kisser's criminal history on my computer. Like, we pulled all this up. You know, I worded things the way it needs to be worded. And he was cooperative, no red flag whatsoever.
Okay. And as an attorney, is it important that before a client signs a contract, you make sure that that client is coherent, competent to sign the contract?
Yes.
All right, and did he sign that? I'm referring to it as a contract, but the template that would have been filed in court for the paternity act.
He signed the retainer agreement, which is my contract with him, right? That established a relationship as an attorney-client. So he signed that contract, and he signed the petition that I had drafted, and the uniform, the UCCJEA, which is the form that needs. UCCJEA, which is just an abbreviation for a long form that needs to be filed with about the addresses and all that stuff. I think he signed his those of social security number too with it. So everything was signed, and no concern for his capability of competency to sign the agreement.
And how was his demeanor after everything was signed?
He was happy. He was eager. He was like, let's get the ball moving. You know, he was just wanting to move forward as quickly as possible. He was pleasant the whole meeting. I mean, he was.
And did he tell you he was working as a cook at the time?
He did. He mentioned that. We talked about it. He mentioned that he was just starting a new job. He mentioned to me that, you know, it was a Jamaican restaurant or some sort of like that. But we talked about his job. And he just started. He seemed to like it, but it was only a day or two into it. It was like very early in.
And fast forwarding to the next day, January 7th, at the end of your encounter with him, he said to you that none of this would matter anymore as he left, correct?
Correct.
Right. Does paternity always matter?
Always.
Why is that?
Because it doesn't, because if you want to establish your rights, it always matter. You need to, if he wants to have a time-sharing schedule, if he wants to have, you know, some sort of either shared parental responsibility or sole parental responsibility, you need to get established. In Florida, fathers don't have any legal right until they go establish the rights if they have a baby out of wedlock. That's the way the law is here. So paternity always matters in Florida as far as getting it established if you're not going to be living or in a relationship with the mother. So that made no sense. That statement made no sense whatsoever.
All right. So you were concerned at that point?
Yes, because his whole reason to come see me, it was to establish his right and for his fear that Michelle Kerr would come back and get Phoebe, which is why he didn't send her to school. So why, after a meeting, it didn't matter anymore made no sense whatsoever.
Now, later on that night, he sent a couple more emails to you, correct?
He did. He sent me 2 emails.
Right. The first one would have been around 8:30 p.m.
Correct.
What did he send to you?
Essentially, it was like, my mother's gonna, either his mom or stepmom. I don't know which one he said in the email.
Would it help if I showed you a copy?
It would, because I haven't looked at it.
Yes.
Okay. So it was his mother. He said that his mother would come to the office before we closed, which it was 8:30 when he sent that, so clearly we were closed by that time. But he's just saying that his mother's going to come and drop off he said the last hundreds of dollars. So he's referring to the filing fee before we close, and that he's part of St. Paul now, referring to St. Paul Catholic Church.
asked her, he says in his email, my mom will drop the $100 off before you close.
He says LOL, ha ha ha.
Right, like if that's a joke.
Like a joke, yeah, yeah. My mom will drop off the last $100, LOL, ha ha ha.
My mom will drop off.
My mom will drop off the last hundreds of dollars before you close, LOL, ha ha ha. And then he goes on and say that he's part of St. Paul now.
Okay. And he also sent another email that night at 10:25, right?
Yes, at 10.
Did you see a copy of that?
I do. Yes, in that email, he's telling me that he will be there the next morning to give me the last hundreds of dollars, and that he will be there at 9:30. And that was at roughly 10:25, 10:30 at night.
Mulligan? Go ahead.
Redirect.
I wanted to ask you something. The prosecutor mentioned that, or was asking you some questions, and you said that the last thing he said, that statement made no sense whatsoever. And what statement was it that made no sense whatsoever?
That his paperwork, the filing of his paperwork, won't matter anymore tomorrow.
Okay. And that statement was made on January 7th, right?
Correct.
Okay. And now, that wasn't the first statement he made that day that made no sense whatsoever, right?
No, I mean, the whole meeting,
Right.
yeah.
From the start of St. Genevieve to the, if you're not God, then I'm God. None of that stuff made any sense, right?
No.
Judge, we just have an exhibit marked. I'll let the record reflect I received Defense Exhibit 8, Composite 8A through C for identification.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Ms. Torres, I'm showing you some paperwork here. I'd ask you to take a look at it without showing it to the jury. It's Defense Exhibit 8, Composite A through D for identification. Do you recognize that paperwork?
Yes.
And is it a fair and accurate representation of the emails from your law firm to Mr. Jonchuck and his responses to your law firm?
Yes.
So at this time, the defense would move Defense Exhibit 8 into evidence as the composite A through D.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Receive.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The exhibit that I just showed you, that is a complete record of the emails back and forth between you and Mr. Jonchuck, right?
Yes, correct. Starting on August 22nd, 2014, which I guess I was correct in my date.
We're right on the date. When you called 911 on that day, you thought that Mr. Jonchuck was going to be Baker acted?
I did.
Nothing further, Judge.
Anything further?
Yes, question, Your Honor.
Sure.
Ms. Torres. If Phoebe's deceased, paternity doesn't matter then, does it?
It doesn't.
Objection, Judge. Irrelevant, argumentative, calls for sympathy in front of the jury.
Overruled.
May I follow up, Judge?
Sure.
Ms. Torres, if you are God, you don't need the courts to determine paternity, do you?
Objection.
Sustained.
Nothing further.
Can Ms. Torres be excused, or should she be on standby?
Stand by and move into your bridge real quick.
Sure. Can she leave?
If we can hold on 1 second. I mean, she can leave the courtroom, just not run off to shed.
Okay, so.
Sure.
And is it Steve? Well, hold on, I can tell you. Ms. Torres, the lawyers will talk to you out in the vestibule there about what's next, okay?
Okay.
Don't run off.
I won't.
You would.
May I go?
Huh?
May I go?
Sure.
Jury's out of the hearing in the court, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
All right.